Today we're going to talk about the AP200 by Autel. We have a setup video on this, so do follow that setup video before you try to follow along on this. We're going to use it already set up and talk about the use and what it does for us, more than just read codes. Okay, I just plugged in the AP200 to the OBD port, and right away my phone pops up and wants to connect. So I'm going to allow that and allow it here. Go into diagnostics. Benz Sprinter. Mercedes is not right. Dodge is not right. Freightliner is not right. It does not matter what your van is labeled as. Benz Sprinter is the one that works for all T1N Sprinters. Do not select automatic here. That will try to read the VIN and then come up and tell you that it is not compatible with this model. Not true. Just pick the manual selection. Sprinter. Sometimes this takes longer than other times. There we go, 901. All T1N Sprinters are going to be 901.6, 902.6, 903.6, 904.6, 905.6, blah, blah, blah. NCV3 Sprinters will be the 906 above, but we want the 901 line down here. I'm in USA. It's a North American model. And I have an OBD2 port. And then we can auto scan and read them all, just get an overview of what codes we have, but that's great for an overview. We're not trying to overview. We want to dig into the problem at with the van, so we're going to go to control unit. And before we select a control unit, we need to turn the key on. And I'm going to select the engine control module. That's the one that will set your engine light on the dash. Read codes. Naturally, that's the first thing most people are going to want to do, to read codes. No faults detected. That's good. So there's nothing there to erase. We'll go into live data. Sensor overview. Okay, obviously the engine is off, so our RPM is 0. Let me start that motor and watch what changes. Engine speed is going to be under 700 RPM. That's normally what I see. Air mass is just under 500. That's normally what I see. Intake air temperature, that's read at the air filter. Boost air temperature, that is measured on the left-hand side, the driver's side on a North American model, in the plastic union between the two hoses, known as the elephant hose. Engine coolant temperature, fuel temperature same, engine oil temperature, obviously those will warm up. We've got engine oil level at 28.9, that is red because that is a little bit low in this van. Engine oil quality, 2.27. We can display it different ways. Well, like anything here, we can go into different displays. Engine oil quality, we'll click on that. An oil quality of 1 is good, an oil quality of 6 is poor. I never see it anywhere outside of 2.0 to 2.9, so we'll watch for that more in the future. Engine oil quality, atmospheric pressure, that is measured inside the ECM. Inlet pressure, that is measured on a little sensor on top of the air filter box. Boost pressure, that is measured at that same union as the boost temperature we talked about before. Plastic union in the middle of the elephant hose on the left-hand side. Rail pressure, obviously measured at the rail, the front sensors on the front end of our fuel rail. Gear engaged, 0 because we're in park. If we put it into drive, we'd get a 1 there. If we put it into reverse, we'd get a -1 there. That would change as we drive around, so that's sometimes useful, but there's a better place to look at what gear it's engaged in. Fuel tank level, 6 liters. 6 liters is pretty low. 10 liters is when the triangle comes on. 100 liters is full, so this van's going to run out of gas. Not really. Pedal sensor, those are both relation to the accelerator pedal, and you'll see when I press the accelerator, both of those will change in unison. Next is the brake switch is open and the stoplight switch is open. Those will both change to yes when I step on the brake. These red values are red because the AP200 doesn't know what good value is. The van knows that under certain conditions, this value is good and that value is not. The AP200 isn't quite that smart. It only knows good and bad values. They're not conditional. So you'd have to set a very wide range for that to never turn red. Engine oil temperature or engine oil level, there is a range there, and if I put a little bit of oil into it right now, that will stop being red. It'll go to black. We normally don't see anything red except 3 of them. Air mass is always red, boost pressure is always red, and rail pressure is always red. So we'll escape out of that, go into positioner overview. Engine coolant temperature again. Duty cycle of the fuel management valve. That is on the high pressure fuel pump. On-off ratio of the rail pressure control. That's the valve on the back of the fuel rail. And let's see, EGR. And pressure positioner. Oh, this is the turbo actuator down here. And pretty much all of these should change when I, except the coolant temperature maybe. The rest of them should change when I step on the throttle. Escape out of that. We'll look at the exhaust gas recirculation. Notice right away it's at 24%, and if I step on the throttle, that'll change, as well as the mass airflow and the engine speed. We've got some of the same readings here we can see on other screens. If your EGR ratio is stuck at 5 or 6%, there are things we can do about that. It may be that your van has the EGR deleted, or it may be that your intake adaptives are broken, stuck. If your mass airflow, air mass does not change, that may be just a bad mass airflow sensor. We have a video on that, how to test it and how to change it. Let's go down to charge pressure control. Again, a lot of the same things we've seen on other screens. Engine speed, atmospheric pressure inside the ECM, inlet pressure, boost pressure, that's in the air filter, and on the left side, charge pressure positioner, that's the turbo actuator. Moving down to fuel injection values. Again, these are the red values because we don't have good values set in the app. Nothing is going to turn those black. I'm really not real clear on how those work. Cruise control safety switch, safety contact. Cruise control switch safety contact, that might be what keeps it from doing anything until you're up to 20 miles an hour. So these might change if we got up to speed, but I'm not going to shoot a video while I'm driving. So we're going to go down to working speed controls. I believe this has to do with the high idle option, which is not installed on this van. Drive authorization. Synchronization status between the crank and the camshaft. It's going to be okay while it's running. That will change while we're in the startup process. And I'm going to take the key out, put the key in, turn the key, and then start the van, and you'll watch that synchronized change. All right, escape out of that. And that is about everything in the engine control module. Now we don't have LPG, EGS electronic transmission. There's two for the transmission here. Transmission control will not usually work. We use the EGS. ECU information. Read codes, no codes, that's good. Let's skip the erasing then, go down to live data. Control module. And we can see these move. If we were to move the park reverse indicator, that would change. Transmission oil temperature, TOT. In shift lever position R or D. So it must be in reverse or drive to look at the transmission temperature. And I'm going to go do that with my foot on the brake so you can see how that changes. Target gear here will change as you're on the highway. You'll see that go, if you're in drive, it'll go from 1 to 2 to 3. Actual gear should generally follow that, 1 to 2 to 3. Help you diagnose any shift troubles perhaps. Tells you if the van is trying to shift and not able to, or is it just not telling itself to shift. Okay, you'll see wheel speeds here. This is not really where we want to be looking at wheel speeds. We'll get into that in a minute. Turn the engine off. And let's see, we are done with the transmission control module here, so we'll exit out of that. All right, we'll come back in here at the anti-lock braking system. Read codes. No surprise there. So we'll go to live data. Wheel speed, actual values. You don't want to monitor your wheel speed sensors through the ABS module. We want to skip past that and get down to the ESP electronic stability programming. And this is where we will monitor wheel speed sensors. Read codes. No surprise. Live data, wheel speeds, actual values. And we are not traveling, so all zeros is good information. When we start rolling slowly, those should update, not exactly at the same time, but they should stay pretty close to each other. If you find one is jumping all over the place as you're rolling down the road steady, you know that wheel is what you need to look at. And they're labeled right front, left rear, right rear. And here we have the brake switch closed and stop light switch open. You'll see if I step on the brake pedal, both of those will switch. Closed goes to open, open goes to closed. Escape out of that, and that, and that. And where are we down to? Airbag. Read the codes. There are none. Whoops. And there's no live data on the airbags. We can go into the ECU information, but why? We don't have airbag with windows. Instrument cluster, that's going to be our speedometer, fuel gauge, and all of that. Read codes. SRS malfunction. Ooh, lamp is faulty. That's not good. Erase codes. Yes. Codes have been return function menu and tap read codes to verify. Okay. Have we turned the ignition off for 10 seconds and back on? No, we have not. Read codes. We successfully erased it. Let's go into live data. Sensors. Again, we get a lot of the same information we had other places. And that vehicle speed is going to be your rear wheels averaged. Those of you with fuel level sensor problems might be interested in what my electrical reading is right now at almost empty. It's 428 ohm. I'll have to look at that in another van to tell you how that changes. Coolant level warning, washer level warning. It's just telling us these lights are not lit. Buttons and switches. Now that is the miles and the clock and the plus and the minus. We can go in and operate those buttons. It'll go from not operated to operated as we push each one. Status of the doors. It'll tell you if your doors are open or closed. Now that is not triggered by the little switch that we're familiar with. You can put your foot against to turn the dome light off. That switch is only for the dome light. This is getting feedback from the lock mechanism right here inside the door as to whether the door is open or closed or locked or not. Seatbelt buckle switch, parking brake, that's the the hand brake. If it's not pushed down all the way, the little brake light will illuminate on the dash. B-R-A-K-E, brake. Engine diagnosis indicator lamp is on because I have the engine off and the key on. Coolant level warning is off, charge indicator, blah, blah, blah. Engine level, brake light wear is not lit. Anti-lock brake system is off because the engine is not running. Little pigtail, the pre-glow indicator is not lit because it's been key on for a while now. Seatbelt reminder chime is off. That's something that can be changed with the proper software, either DAS or DRB3. Can't do it with the Autel, unfortunately. Go into electrical voltages. The instrument panel brightness can be changed. Should be able to change that by holding the up and down button and change the brightness. The brightness changes, but that percentage isn't changing on my van for some reason. I may have a problem with my display. Escape out of that. Let's see, we were at instrument cluster. WSP, that is also known as your screen. So we can look at that. This is the module up under the half moon, up in front of the steering wheel. Read codes, there are none. We'll go to live data. Interface with the central locking. Now I believe if I press my fob button here, that will trigger. Fixed code is valid. Counter is valid. Now this talks about the transponder in the key. We have a video for cloning the key transponder. The original keys will have a Temic key in it. We use a T5. I forget exactly, the video will tell you. We clone the Temic key to our T5 and it works great. Transponder is valid. If you're getting a start error, this could be useful in troubleshooting. CAN bus communications. Radio, I don't have an original radio, so I'm not going to go there. We don't have autopilot. We don't have all-wheel. We don't have anti-theft, at least most of us don't. Electronic selector module. Read codes. Everybody's going to have a code here. 1926, CAN communication is faulty. That is to be ignored. 1925, brake torque is implausible. And that one's might have meant something, but it's probably not. I'm going to escape. I'm going to erase that code. Whoops. Vent code, same thing. Erase codes. Yes. Okay. No, I did not turn the key off and back on, but that's okay. Read codes again. 1926 is always going to be there. Don't worry about it. Live data. You can go in here, it'll tell you what gear you're in. If you're getting enough supply voltage. Jog. That's when you're in drive and move the lever to the, let's see, to the right or to the left. Reverse. Lights should illuminate. That should turn on, of course. Locking solenoid. That's what lets you take it out of park. I'm going to step on the brake and you'll see what changes here. That locking solenoid should open up. It'll say operated. And stop lamp will also go to operated. And that is it. That's all that'll happen when I step on the brake. All right, then we'll escape out of that and that. And where are we? We're past radio. We're down at the selector module. Heating control. That's the HVAC module on the dash, the red and blue knob, etc. ECU information. Not sure what any of that is good for except the data manufacturer down there. We're going to escape. Go to read codes. No codes. So we'll go to live data. Now here's a good place to look at or look for anomalies if you're having trouble with your heat controls. Ambient temperature, 33 degrees. Yeah, it's hot here today. Interior temperature is the same. Air conditioner's not on, so the evaporator is not any warmer. Or not much. Okay, nothing changes when I turn the air conditioning on there. If I go to switches and actual values, I'm going to leave the van running now so you can see it. Air conditioner is on, recirculate is off. I can hit the recirculate button, obviously turn that on. Refrigerant pressure, 8 bar. I guess that's good. I don't really know. Auxiliary fan is off. It does, the 12-volt fan does not come on right away with the air conditioning. A lot of people seem to expect it to. Not until the coolant, the Freon, gets warm. air outlet temperature, 32 degrees still. Why is that not getting cold? All right, now we're starting to get cooler. I'm not sure. Up, and the fan just kicked on. I hear it. Where is that? Auxiliary fan on. Air outlet is getting colder. I'm not sure if it was the RPMs that made that happen or just giving it enough time. Now the refrigerant pressure is definitely changing. Escape. Actual values. Water cycle, that's 100% bypass. If I were to turn the red-blue dial toward red, that would go to a pulsing. Give it a circulation pump. Recirculated air mode, that's the center button. I'm going to push that. That closes the flap, so you're no longer sucking in outside air. Alright, we'll escape out of that, and that. Then we get into the boost heaters, auxiliary heaters. I don't have that in this van. Central locking system. Backup assistant I don't have. Central locking system I do. Door of circuit just tells us our driver's door is open or closed, not very useful. Tells us the interior button is working, if you push the up or the down. Not all that useful. I believe that's it.